Some people grow up with cheering crowds behind them. Encouragement, guidance, someone saying, "You can do this." And then, there are people who grow up with silence. No support, no safety net, no one to explain the rules of the game, just the expectation to play it anyway. If you've ever met someone who seems unusually independent, emotionally guarded, or strangely calm in chaos, there's a chance you're looking at someone who grew up with zero support. And what's fascinating is this: their psychology isn't broken, it's adapted, in ways that are powerful, unusual, and sometimes misunderstood. The first thing that often develops is what I like to call self-parenting mode. When no one guides you, you become your own mentor, your own critic, and sometimes your own therapist at 2 a.m. People who grew up this way tend to have an inner dialogue that's very active. They replay conversations, analyze decisions, and mentally rehearse scenarios. Not because they're overthinkers by nature, but because they had to figure life out alone. Interestingly, some studies on resilience suggest that individuals who solve problems independently from a young age often develop stronger, long-term decision-making skills. Basically, their brain becomes a trial-and-error machine. Not the most relaxing lifestyle, but effective. The second psychological trait is hyper-awareness of emotional climates. When support is missing, survival often depends on reading subtle signals, tone of voice, facial expressions, tiny shifts in mood. It's like developing emotional radar. These people can walk into a room and instantly sense tension, even if nobody says a word. The funny part? Sometimes they notice things so quickly that others think they're psychic. They're not psychic. They just grew up studying people the way gamers study boss patterns. The third thing is something most people don't talk about: a complicated relationship with rest. When you grow up without support, productivity often becomes tied to self-worth. Relaxing can feel uncomfortable, almost suspicious, like, shouldn't I be doing something right now? Even on a day off, the mind keeps running in the background, like 37 browser tabs open at once. Neuroscience research actually shows that chronic stress in early life can train the brain to remain in a low-level alert state, making stillness feel unnatural. So if someone seems restless or always on, it's not always ambition, it's conditioning. The fourth psychological pattern is perhaps the most surprising: a quiet but powerful form of confidence. Not loud confidence, not the kind that needs applause, but the kind built from surviving things alone. When you've faced problems without backup, you develop an internal belief that says, "I'll figure it out somehow." It's not flashy, and it doesn't always look confident on the outside. In fact, many of these individuals doubt themselves constantly. But when real challenges appear, they move forward anyway. That's a different kind of strength, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself. Now here's the paradox. People who grew up with zero support often look strong to everyone else, which means they're offered less support as adults. It's like the world assumes they're fine, they've got it handled. And most of the time, they do. But strength doesn't mean the absence of exhaustion. Even the most resilient minds get tired. If you see yourself in this, there's something important to remember. The traits you developed weren't accidents. They were survival skills. The independence, the awareness, the persistence, those were tools you built when no one handed you any. And here's the part nobody tells you. Survival skills don't just help you survive. Over time, if you learn to soften them, to balance them, to let people in little by little, they can help you build a life that's not just strong, but meaningful. And maybe that's the real psychology of people who grew up with zero support. They didn't just learn how to live, they learned how to endure. And that changes a person in ways the world rarely sees.